Welcome to the Papyrus Global TV. I am Christiana Babayo. Today we bring you a developing and deeply concerning escalation in the Middle East. What began as targeted strikes has rapidly evolved into a widening regional confrontation involving the United States, Israel, Iran, Lebanon, Qatar, and global powers including China and the United Kingdom. The rhetoric is intensifying. The missiles are flying. Strategic waterways are under threat, and diplomatic channels appear increasingly strained. Here are the top headlines tonight. Iran declares it is prepared for a long war as tensions with the United States and Israel deepen. President Donald Trump says the US took its last best chance to strike Iran and warns that the big wave of attacks is still coming. Qatar's defense ministry says it shot down 2 Iranian SU-24 aircraft along with ballistic missiles and drones. Lebanon reports 52 killed in Israeli strikes targeting Hezbollah positions. China backs Iran's right to defend its sovereignty, warning against escalation at the UN Security Council. The US Embassy in Jordan evacuates staff over an unidentified threat. Reports emerge of an Iranian strike on a tanker in the Strait of Hormuz, raising fears over global oil supply disruption. And now the news in details. Iran's Supreme National Security Council Secretary Ali Larijani declared that Iran, unlike the United States, has prepared itself for a prolonged conflict. According to Larijani, Iran did not initiate the war. He says the current escalation began when Israel and the US launched coordinated airstrikes on Iranian territory. Tehran insists its actions are defensive and vows to respond fiercely, regardless of cost. This statement signals something critical. Iran is not positioning this as a limited engagement. It is framing the conflict as strategic, sustained, and existential. And that changes the equation entirely. Speaking from the White House, President Donald Trump described the strike on Iran as the last best chance to stop the Iranian regime. He confirmed that over 1,250 targets have already been struck and that the US is continuing what he called large-scale combat operations. In a phone interview with CNN, Trump warned that the most powerful wave of strikes has not yet occurred. We haven't yet started hitting them hard. The big wave hasn't even happened. The big one is coming soon. He also estimated the war could last about a month, though conflicts of this scale rarely follow projected timelines. The most explosive claim, that Iranian retaliatory strikes on neighboring Gulf states were unexpected and have complicated US strategy. Qatar's Ministry of Defense announced it shot down 2 Iranian SU-24 aircraft. Additionally, it intercepted 7 ballistic missiles and 5 drones that targeted multiple areas within the country. All were reportedly neutralized before impact. It confirmed this marks a dramatic escalation, direct state-to-state military engagement beyond Israel and Iran. This is no longer a contained bilateral conflict. Reports indicate that Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps struck a fuel tanker in the Strait of Hormuz using 2 drones. The vessel, identified as the Nova and registered in the Honduras, was allegedly set on fire. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most critical oil transit choke points in the world. Roughly 20% of global oil shipments pass through this narrow waterway. Although Iran's chief diplomat Abbas Araghchi denied claims that Tehran has closed the strait, financial analysts, including Fitch Ratings, have warned that closure risk remain high. Any sustained disruption could spike oil prices worldwide and trigger economic shockwaves. Israel has launched multiple strikes on what it describes as Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. Lebanon's health officials report that at least 52 people were killed. Hundreds of Beirut residents have fled to shelters. The Israeli military has made it clear that operations will continue until what it calls the Hezbollah threat is fully removed. This signals the possibility of a northern front reopening, something that dramatically widens the battlefield. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer confirmed Britain will not join the US-Israeli strikes. He emphasized that the UK does not believe in regime change from the skies. Starmer referenced the mistakes of Iraq, stressing that UK actions must have lawful basis and a viable plan. He also revealed that Iran had backed more than 20 potentially lethal attacks on UK soil in the past year, all reportedly foiled. The UK is urging citizens in the region to register their presence and monitor travel advisories. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi told Iran's Abbas Araghchi that Beijing supports Iran in defending its sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity. China urged the US and Israel to cease military operations immediately and warned against further escalation. In conversations with Oman and France, Wang warned that major powers cannot arbitrarily attack other nations based on military superiority. China also signaled willingness to push for ceasefire discussions at the UN Security Council. This introduces a major geopolitical dimension: the potential alignment of China diplomatically with Iran against Western military action. The US Embassy in Jordan has evacuated all staff temporarily due to an unspecified threat. Emergency warnings instructed personnel to duck and take cover and stay away from windows. This suggests heightened threat perception across US diplomatic facilities in the region. Are we heading into full-blown war? Let's look at the bigger picture. We now have direct US and Israeli strikes on Iranian territory, Iranian missile and drone retaliation, Gulf states intercepting Iranian aircraft, Lebanon drawn into heavy bombardment, all checkpoints under threat, China diplomatically backing Iran, the UK distancing itself militarily. This is no longer a proxy confrontation. This is a multi-theater engagement with global implications. Three key risks ahead. Expansion into Gulf states. If Qatar or UAE become sustained targets, NATO involvement pressure increases. Strait of Hormuz closure. Energy markets could spiral. Superpower polarization. US versus Iran and with China politically backing Tehran. History tells us that wars often expand through miscalculations. Iran says it is ready for a long war. The US says the biggest strike is yet to come. Israel says operations will not end until threats are removed. China says major powers must not attack sovereign states arbitrarily. The Middle East now stands at a crossroads. As this conflict unfolds, the world watches, markets tremble, embassies evacuate, civilians flee, and diplomatic calls intensify. The next 72 hours may determine whether this remains a high-intensity regional war or spirals into something far more global. We will continue to monitor developments and bring you verified updates as they emerge. This is the Papyrus Global TV. I am your uncle, Christiana Babayo. Stay informed, stay safe. Good night.